Hello, YouTube. This is Mage Power here, and I'm coming to you with an interesting discussion today. I went to a tournament just last weekend. Oh, yes, it was last weekend, now that I'm looking at the date, for the Lightning Overdrive pre release. And one thing I did, I actually want to discuss because I did something a little bit different. I went through my side deck and I decided that my side deck should consist of a lot of one-ofs because I can then pick a lot of different options to touch a lot of different possible options that I might face, especially at a non-premier event where you might face anything from Dark Magician to Yang Zing to Drytron to anything that's even somewhat competent at a local level. And I think you can probably apply this to the regional level and even to some extent take at least some of the theory from this to the top levels. However, you may want to adapt from there. But this is going to essentially be a discussion on side decking. Now, I do like this strategy, and what I did, I basically picked 15 good cards that were either like two-ofs in my deck that, in some matchups I really wanted more at 3. There was one or two cards that were like one-ofs, but, they were better going first, and I wanted to go second more, so I had an extra copy in my side deck for going first, for example. But generally speaking, I'm just going to go through options real quick for the side deck. Obviously, starting out, you have your hand traps. One of the things I like doing with hand traps, I like playing two-ofs of my hand traps in the main deck of the ones that I want to main. This means that I could play a lot more different types of hand traps and have that extra third copy to replace the ones that are in my main deck that might not be as good against that matchup. So, for example, if I'm main decking Ghost Mourner, for example, I'm using it as an example, and for example, Ghost Bell is better against this matchup, and I'm maining both of these, and I have one in the side deck, I can take out one of the copies of Ghost Mourner and put in Ghost Bell, and put in another card instead of the other Mourner as well. Say, for example, if I'm playing 2 Ash Blossom, generally speaking, I main 3 Ash, but, if you're playing 2 Ash, you could put in the 3rd Ash over the Ghost Mourner as well. Just theory crafting, and allows you to have that access and have answers for much more things. It also means that you might not necessarily draw as many duplicates of the hand traps, meaning less cards in your hand are going to be dead. Anyways, so as far as the hand traps go, hand traps I look at as cards that are generally good going both first and second, with really only about one exception to that. You have Dimension Shifter. I understand not every deck can play it, but Drolan Lockbird, Artifact Lancia, DD Crow, all the Ghost Girls. You have Ash Blossom, Ghost Bell, Ghost Mourner, Ghost Ogre, Ghost Reaper, and Ghost Sister. Obviously, you don't necessarily need to play every single one of these cards, but these are probably the big hand traps alongside Infinite Impermanence. I do want to say real quick, at this tournament, I played Triple Impermanence in my main deck. This card was one of the big MVPs of the day for me. This card came up so clutch in so many different scenarios and actually stole me a couple games. So, definitely, if you're not playing Imperm, test it out. It's really good right now. And then we have cards that are much better suited going second. The big hand trap that's better going second is Nibiru. I did play Nibiru in my main because I wanted to go second, but Nibiru obviously still a very strong card, still a hand trap, can spook people into not playing 5 monsters. Then you also have Alpha, you have Pankratops, and you have Kaijus. I picked Gameciel for this. Obviously, Gameciel is going to be the one most people want to play. And I include these are the monsters really in the side deck that you're going to consider that are probably more tailored to going second. I also included the spells Dark Ruler No More, Lightning Storm, and Harpy's Feather Duster as better going second options. Big reason for this is most of these cards you're not going to be able to trigger on your first turn. Nibiru can be played going first, but obviously that hurts you as well. And then Evenly Matched also falls into this category as a card that's much better suited going second. Then we have the cards that I believe are very good going first or second. Starting off, I have Book of Eclipse. This is a card I've actually been wanting to have a discussion on in general, because I feel like this is a very versatile card, not only going second, being able to just turn everything down and playing as normal, because if you get rid of their monsters, well, who cares? Now you don't have to deal with them flipping back up and them drawing cards, but also going first, just being able to use it as an interrupt on a single monster or something like that, you can effectively use it as a weaker version of Book of Moon, which I have included on this list. Obviously, Book of Moon kind of falls into the same category as Book of Eclipse, being able to turn something that you think is a threat down, or being able to use it as an interrupt going first as well. Called by the Grave obviously fits in, because if you're not playing this in the main deck, you probably want to play this at least in your side, especially for hand trap heavy decks and decks that like to use the graveyard. Then Cosmic Cyclone is the one card that I believe is actually a little bit better than Lightning Storm and Harpies right now, because there's a lot of back row, especially Eldritch, and this card can be used first and second, so I do tend to favor this. But again, this is all do your testing, and this is a card that has come in and out of both my main and side. It's bounced back, basically back and forth between the two. Forbidden Droplet, if you're not maining, obviously is a card to consider for your side deck, can be good going first or second. And I included Super Poly on this list. I understand this has fallen out of favor, but it is still relevant to some degree, especially for decks like Shaddoll. And especially with Shaddoll variants, I do know Super Poly is definitely a card they at least side deck. So, a card to at least consider if your deck can take advantage. And then on to the traps. The rest of these are all cards I consider siding in for when I'm going first, because traps, generally speaking, are slow. Obviously, I already showed you the Impermanent Evenly. Those two are different categories. Trap cards generally only are going first cards. You have Anti-Spell Fragrance, Different Dimension Ground, Dimensional Barrier, Imperial Order, Red Reboot, Solemn Judgment, and Solemn Strike. You can include Solemn Warning in this if you want, but, you get the idea. Anyways, so the whole idea behind this is, so if you take, this is a total of 32 cards here. If you say that these are if these are all the cards that you think could possibly go in a side deck, okay, how many of them am I already playing? So automatically you can start eliminating some if you're already playing them, because you're not going to be able to play more of them. So, for example, if you're playing 3 Ash Blossom, obviously you can remove this from the list. If you're playing 3 Forbidden Droplets, you can remove this from the list. If you're playing 3 Solemn Judgment, you can remove this from the list. Anyways, so the whole idea is, if you take the remaining cards that you didn't remove from this list and pick just 15 of them that hit across the most possible matchups that you can. So, for example, if you think that Dino is a deck that you're going to see, something to consider might be DD Crow or Artifact Lancia. Artifact Lancia then also is a card that can be played against decks like Invoked. And then there's other cards, such as if you want to have going second options. Maybe your deck is really good going first, so you need that going second option. You can consider Alpha or Pankratops. These are very good going second cards, very strong actually. And there's plenty of ways to build this out to where you have 15 cards that do things that complement your deck. Basically, you want to build this side deck using one-ofs to complement the things that your deck doesn't do well. Don't necessarily build it to the matchups, although you could still have cards tailored to specific matchups if you like. Like I said, if Dino gives you trouble, you might consider Lancia or Crow. But you also want to tailor your side deck towards things that your deck doesn't do very well. So if your deck doesn't do going first very well, maybe consider having more of the trap cards in your side deck. Obviously, I know some of these trap cards won't be played in every deck. For example, Invoked probably is not playing Anti-Spell Fragrance. But you could very easily, in that same deck, play something like Dimensional Barrier for Zodiacs, calling XYZ. Or you could very easily be playing Solemn Judgment or Solemn Strike. If you have trouble with back row, Red Reboot obviously is a very good card for that. There's plenty of ways to tailor your deck around these one-ofs because there's so many just generically good cards nowadays that you can apply this theory and have just 15 good cards in your side deck to apply to a wide variety of matchups. And the other thing about this theory that I found was very true when I tried it out this way, when I took my approach and started playing people didn't know what cards I had. Because my side deck was all one-ofs, even if I sided 6 cards in, guess what? They were all different cards, so that means nobody knew what card to play around. So, sure, I might have sided a Nibiru in, but for all you know, I have a Ghost Ogre. Just an example. For all you know, I have a Dark Ruler no more. It really could be anything that I have, and it makes it extremely difficult for the opponent to play around a strategy like this, which is why I really think that this is a strategy you should go test it out, find just 15 good cards, and if there are a couple cards that you want to play more than one of in the side deck, that's fine. Maybe find 10 good cards and play 3 of. So, like, for example, if you're not maining any back row destruction, maybe side deck 3 Cosmic Cyclone and side 2 of something else, Maybe 12 good 1-ofs and 1 card that you want at 3. There's a lot of ways you can go with this, and the variety it gives you, I think, is just so great. It felt so good having so many different options at my disposal at this tournament, and I recommend this to anybody. Test it out, try it, see how you like it. Anyways, if you want to see the build from the tournament and the tournament report, that will be in my next video. I'm hoping that will be uploaded tomorrow. This has been Mage Power. United we stand, in Mage Power we trust. Also, leave a like if you watch the whole video.